Environmental Advocates was formed 50 years ago, in 1969. And the leaders of the environmental movement at the time decided we need a lobby presence in Albany that would represent all the different groups that were coming around on environmental issues. It was before the Clean Air Act, so smog was choking our cities. It was before the Clean Water Act, so you had huge amounts of pollution being dumped. There was a lot of pressures on development. I mean, dirty air was something that obscured New York City's skylines. You had acid rain falling in the Adirondack Park. So there was a huge need for environmental policy making and a real acute need for New York to have a lobby presence so that we could shape not only New York laws, but also translate that New York law into national public policy.
The state government is really an important part of our overall government structure. You know, people understand the federal government on one hand, they understand their city government, but state government's a mystery. Environmental Advocates was really the force showing up every day and cracking the code of the Albany culture, which is difficult for an outsider to figure out. Environmental Advocates understands how a bill really becomes law, understands what's necessary for the environment, and can influence things day by day, year by year, to make sure that the state's environment is protected.
What we're hoping is that we can use New York as sort of a beacon, along with California, which is already a beacon, and use the ideas and the principles that we come up with to have a broader impact in the United States, and then hopefully help create roadmaps to get to a carbon neutral position.
This year, we've seen tremendous success with the greatest environmental legislative session in a generation. And really the capstone success for this year has been the enactment of New York State's Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. That's going to completely transform our economy and one that's based on fossil fuels to be 100% clean energy powered in less than 30 years.
Environmental Advocates played a big role to help prevent fracking.
We turned our attention more toward acid rain issues, wetlands protection. We did a fair amount of work on the state program to clean up toxic waste sites, Superfund. The earth needs a lobbyist, especially in state capitals, because polluters are so politically influential. This comes to the whole heart of our crisis in democracy, and that is the role of big money in politics.
What the legislature passed was setting goals for the next 30-odd years to achieve a carbon neutral state. But in fact, the work has just started. A lot of things have to be done, both from a regulatory standpoint as well as from a technology standpoint, to actually achieve those targets. And we all have to pull together in the next 30 years in order to achieve the goals that have now been set by the legislature and approved by the executive.
The biggest challenge is going to be keeping up with the number of issues facing our environment in New York and the complexity of those issues. You need to give more money so they can hire more staff. They're terrific at pulling the levers of government in Albany, but they need to be bigger.
The urgency is now. I think change has to happen as soon as it can. I think 30 years is a reasonable time frame, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
We're working to ensure that our Constitution actually has a right to clean air, clean water, and healthful communities. We want to shape our bedrock laws in the next couple of years to ensure that everybody has the right to drink clean water, everybody has the right to breathe clean air, and everybody has a right to a healthful environment.
Environmental justice issues, environmental racism, these disadvantaged communities don't understand their rights or the fact that they need to be informed about what's going on within their own communities.
So the nation needs New York to be a true green leader. You know, the world needs it to be that leader. And Albany is not going to move into that leadership position unless the people push Albany to do that. And that's where environmental advocates come into play, to bring people together across New York State to push Albany to become the true green leader that this nation needs it to be.